as the week goes on here, Omenihu as the week goes on. Um, as far as the film study of the game, the review, feels similar to what I felt after the game. There were some good things that took place, but there were some things that we need to work on, especially when you're playing a good team like that, where every series is an important series, whether you're on the offensive side or the defensive side. And any mistakes can get magnified tenfold because of that. And you've got to make sure that you're sharp, and whether it's assignments or execution, and we can do better in that area. We can do better as coaches of making sure our guys can be put in positions to do better, and to maybe back off a little bit on certain things that we've been doing. So to help the players out so that they can play a little bit faster. So, anyways, in general, that's what I would tell you on both sides of the ball. I'd tell you on the special team side, I thought we did some good things, in particular with Spencer and his kicking. I was proud of the kid stepping in. That's a tough environment to step into, and he did well with what we asked him to do. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
We'll go first to Matt Derrick. Matt?
Hey, Coach, after the game last night, you mentioned wanting to look at that Xavier Worthy catch down the field on the sideline a little bit more. Do you feel any differently after looking at it, as far as, is that a learning experience for Xavier, or is that just, what Patrick said that, he throws the ball a little bit differently, that's a walk-in touchdown?
Yeah. If Pat could have seen him earlier, then that's part of it. But once you're there, he could have dragged his foot to keep it in. He'll be able to chalk that one up to experience. But again, what Pat told you is true. And so that combination, those are the little things, though. You're talking about 7 points there against a good football team. So you got to make sure that we take care of business on both ends there.
We'll go next to Jesse Newell. Jesse?
Hey, Kelsey, I have a follow-up too. Hey, Andy, you just said you wanted to back off some things to help your players. Can you just give an example of what you were talking about there?
Yeah, so maybe it's motions or shifts or that type of thing on the offensive side. Spags, I haven't gone through it with him yet, so but they're just they're little things, but sometimes little things can add up.
Great. I wanted to ask you on the 4th and 2, when you're playing a guy like Josh Allen, what's the balance with your defensive lineman between trying to go make a play and then trying to kind of stay in your lane to make sure he can't scramble on a play like that?
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do. I mean, it's especially when you're right there, and listen, this was not an effort problem on either side of the ball. It was just an execution part, and you want to try to stay in your lanes. Sometimes when it extends that long, that's a tough thing to do. I mean, the guy's moving around, and all of a sudden those lanes become skewed just a little bit. So, but listen, I appreciate the effort on it. The guy made a great play, and we'll go back and learn from the thing and see what we can do better on that.
We'll go next to Pete Sweeney. Pete?
Coach, it felt like coming into the game that Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins were breaking out in a sense, and Buffalo was able to limit them. I was wondering on your second look what you might have saw from Buffalo that led to some of that.
Yeah, well, they bracketed Kels up in certain situations. DeAndre, they tried to do in certain situations. But again, we can work through that part. And, they're not the only two on the field. So the other guys have opportunities when that happens.
It looks like we have just a couple more for you, Coach. We'll go back to Matt Derrick. Matt?
Yeah, Coach, I also wanted to ask about just the pressure you're able to get up front defensively. Last couple of years, you obviously been second in the league in sacks. This year, it's been more difficult to come by. What's the level of just frustration or disappointment that the front four hasn't been able to get as much pressure as it has in the past?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers for you right in front of myself. Last night probably wasn't as much as we'd like there, but the other games I thought we had done pretty well with that, as far as at least hurries for the quarterback. Um, I was pretty happy with that.
We'll go next to Nick Jacobs. Nick?
And Kelsey, I'll have a follow-up if I can, please. Andy, on that second to last drive where Noah Gray has the touchdown, that drive itself, how do you guys go about trying to get the players to build off that for the games ahead here?
Yeah, sure. That was one of the positives, and that's something that I can help with, giving my guys an opportunity to be able to do those things, and I might have been a little too conservative early on, but this is what we're capable of doing, and it's important that we get it down to where we can do that consistently.
And for the rookies and some of the guys who necessarily haven't been a part of these runs that you guys have had over the 5 to 6 years, what do you hope they kind of take away from being in that environment and being in that game?
Yeah, you got to dig in, man. I mean, these should hurt. You spend a lot of time in preparation for these games and effort, and so you got to reach inside as coaches and players, not just the players here, but you got to figure out the problems and then work to solve them. I know I have that kind of locker room, and so I know the guys will do that. I know the coaches will do that too. So, you can't just say everything's going to be okay. That's not how this works. You got to dig in, and it's got to be there's got to be some. You got to check the ego at the door and do some self evaluation there.
We have two more for you. We'll go first to Todd Lebo.
Hey, Coach, I don't know if you got asked this yesterday or not because I wasn't out there with you, but Kingsley was inactive this week. Can you just take us through that process on having him be inactive and kind of where is he for the near future here with you guys?
Yeah, Kingsley's going to be okay. It's just sometimes you got to take a step back, take a step forward, and that's what we felt we needed to do there. So we'll go from there and just see how things work out here as he continues to work forward.
We'll close it out with Seren Petro. Seren?
Thank you. And I'll have a follow-up as well. Coach, to kind of follow up on what Todd was saying, would you have any plans? I know there are several veterans that are out there. Any plans to look at anyone after what you saw and just kind of your thoughts on Wanya Morris's performance?
Yeah, so I actually thought Wanya got a little bit better this week. He's been doing that for the most part every week, but the injury stepped in on it last week for a while. But I felt like he did some good things for a young guy. He improved and will continue to improve with reps there. But and then as far as a veteran player goes, Veach is always keeping his eyes open. So he would be the one that heads that up, and he's obviously he bird dogs all that.
And then finally, just the undefeated talk. Do you find that it's now gone? It's not something you have to do. You guys have always said, the goal is to win a Super Bowl, but it's whether you talk it or not, it gets thrown at you. Is it a welcome, relief to not have to answer that anymore, or maybe for your team or some of the younger guys to not have to answer those kind of questions anymore?
Crap. So I just go forward and I try to exhaust what team we're playing, and I present that to the players that way, and I expect them to do the same. So I don't really hear a lot of that talk from them, or really think they care too much about that, other than exhausting yourself the best you can to prepare yourself for that team that's there that week. And then you get to a point where you say, listen, I've done everything I possibly can. Here's the product, and you go play. So.
Coach, we appreciate the time. We'll let you get back to it.
All right. Take care. Thank you.